Once my dad almost went blind while he was fixing the water pipes, but he used a crazy technique to save himself because he was using a chemical to fix the pipes. But then, since the product wouldn't come out, he grabs it and points it at his face and says, "Come on, damn thing, come out already." And then the liquid shoots out and hits his face and eyes, but the product was so strong that he had to wash it off with water and quickly go to the hospital. And since there was no water, he grabbed water from the toilet and started washing his eyes, then ran to the hospital. The good thing is he didn't go blind, but his eyes were redder than a junkie's.
Hello?
One time, because of my brother, I ended up embarrassed in front of my girlfriend because that guy gave me lice, and as a result, I gave my girlfriend lice. Because one time I was hugging her while we were watching a movie and she says to me,
"Are you playing with my hair?"
And I said, "No, why?" And then we realized we had little bugs in our hair and that the louse was the one playing with her hair. So I went to my brother, who's the dirtiest one in my house, and I said, "Hey, you damn slob, you have lice, don't you?" He told me, "Yeah, I already gave them to you." One time when I was in Mexico, I thought that when I went to sleep, I would never wake up. Because that day, my girlfriend and I got up at 4 in the morning so we wouldn't miss our flight. But we had gone to bed at 2 in the morning, so we had only slept for 2 hours. And to top it all off, we left so quickly that we didn't even have time to eat breakfast. And when we arrived in Mexico, we were rushing everywhere and looked more like a zombie couple than actual people. And throughout that whole day, we didn't eat properly. And when it was time to sleep, the elevators to go to our room were packed, so we decided to use the stairs, but those damn stairs didn't lead anywhere. They were really steep and actually they were scary. But in the end, when we finally got to the room, my girlfriend and I both thought we were going to fall asleep and never wake up again because of how much we put our bodies through that day.
What the hell? Oh my God, no way.
Once when I was 2 years old, I threw up on my dad's face and my vomit even got into his mouth because I had just had my milk. But my dad, since he liked to play with me, picked me up with his hands. He would lift me up and down saying, "Little buddy, little buddy, little buddy." But in one of those moments, he goes and says, "Dad?" And I threw up all over his face. The milk I had just drunk because he shook up my poor baby stomach, and in the end he said my vomit still tasted a bit like milk. Gross. Once my dad pawned my Xbox 360 when I was 9 years old because he had seen a prank in a movie and wanted to do the same thing. So with my mom's purple nail polish, I scribbled all over my dad's almost new car. Then my dad comes over and sees me with my shirt and hands all stained standing next to his car and I said it wasn't me, Dad, but then he told me to come say goodbye to my Xbox. I asked where he was taking it, and he said he was pawning it to pay for his car's paint job because I'd been naughty. Luckily, he got it back at the end of the month. One time I thought my dad hated me and didn't want me as his son anymore because I called his phone and it just rang ping, ping, ping. At the end, I hear his voice ask, "What do you want?" And then he hangs up the call, and I said, "Damn, my dad doesn't love me anymore." So I call him again, and the same thing happened. Until when I saw him in person, I said, "Hey dad, why did you answer me so rudely and then hang up on me?" And he says, "Oh son, that's my voicemail for the Telcel people who keep calling and calling. It wasn't me, and it's true, those Telcel people are really annoying."
If you know how to waste your time, check out my profile. If you know how to waste your time, check out my profile.
One time when my birthday was coming up, my mom threw me a party, but she didn't want me to invite a boy named Max because she said he ate a lot, and besides, he always asked for a second goodie bag and everything was counted. So we went around my neighborhood with a little bag to hand out the invitations, and my mom says to me, "If you see Max, don't show him the bag." And I was like, "Yes, mommy, okay." And then at one point my mom stays talking with another lady. But then Max comes over, sees my bag and says to me,
"Hi, what are you carrying there?"
And I, all nervous, say to him, "This." And he sees all the invitations and Max says, "Give me one." And my mom just stared at me like this.
You're such an idiot, such an idiot.
One time, a guy at the store insanely humiliated my girlfriend in front of me and our nephew Mbappé because we were traveling and there was a store that sold things for girls and my girlfriend is a shopaholic and everything she sees she wants. So she sees the store and says,
Oh, that store! It caught my attention. I'm going to buy some things.
But then, since it was almost 9 at night and the stores were about to close, they closed the gate right in her face and she was just a centimeter away from getting in, but she couldn't anymore. So, Mbappé and I laughed our heads off at what happened, and on top of that, to make matters worse, the next day we were already leaving for our little house.
Let it out.
One time, my dad thought I had completely lost my mind because he came into my room and saw me pressed up against the mirror making the shushing gesture. But actually, I was just doing mewing while no one was watching me, and supposedly he wasn't even home because he had gone out with my mom. But then out of nowhere, he comes into my room and says, "Son, I'm home." And he sees me doing... So, since I was embarrassed, I just stared at him and said, "Why don't you knock on the door? What if I was jerking off?" Once when I was a little kid, I thought that when people talk to God in prayer, they just did this, peace, 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 peace. It was just meaningless sounds because that's how I heard my grandma and aunts do it. One day I went to mass with my grandma and heard her go psis, 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 psis. So I started copying her and doing the same thing. And when my grandma heard me, she said to me,
"What are you doing, sweetie?"
and I said to my grandma, "Praying, grandma." And she said to me,
"And why are you just doing that?" Psst, psst.
but I didn't understand. And then she explained to me that she was actually saying meaningful words, just whispered. And for 8 years of my life, I only talked to God like this. Peace, 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 peace.
舞蹈健身操，祝您健康，步步。
Once, when I was 12 years old, my dad thought I had turned gay because I peed sitting down on the toilet. And one day he said to me, "Hey son or daughter, why do you pee sitting down on the toilet? Could it be that you've already switched sides?" And I told him, "No, it's just that I'm lazy and I don't feel like peeing standing up. Besides, I have bad aim and I always leave the toilet stained. And also, since my friend Panzas always came to my house, my dad thought that instead of being my friend, he was my boyfriend. But that wasn't the case."
In a year, Daddy. And my phone got like 4G.
Once at my school, there was a really perverted guy who even got a girl pregnant recently, and he's only 19 years old. Because that dude, every time we went out for recess, we were all happy because we could play soccer and the girls played volleyball. But as soon as the bell rang, that guy would say, "All right, let's see some asses." And he would spend the whole recess on the volleyball court where the girls were. And I recently found out that he has a son. That means he was so perverted, he even ended up with a kid.
Damn, that's savage.
One time I messed up in front of a friend who was gay because I said, "Hey man, I'm gonna change the chain I got for my dad because it looks too gay to me, no offense." But then the poor guy goes and says,
"Don't worry, I am."
My dad's birthday was coming up and I planned to give him a chain, but it looked too feminine. So I told that to my friend who had come with me to buy it, but I forgot that my buddy Gabriel was gay.
And yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
One time, when my nephew Mbappé was born, I told my brother that I didn't care and to stop bothering me. Because it was like 3 in the morning and my brother Macaco comes in and says, dude, he's not Mbappé anymore." And I'm like, I wake up all groggy, check the time and see that it was 3:13 in the morning. So I said to him, "Why the hell should I care? Let me sleep." And then in the morning, I get up. I go to see him and he was bald. And I say, "Is that why you wanted me to wake up to see a bald baby?" And just to be mean, he gave me a smack on the head that echoed inside me. One time, because of the ants, I almost lost my girlfriend and I was about to become Chico Palado. Because on a February 14th, my girlfriend gave me some chocolates, but I left them on my nightstand to eat them later. And then a while later, I go to my room with my girlfriend and we see the chocolates completely covered in ants. Then she looks at them and says to me,
"Look, your clients, they're already eating your chocolates."
And I quickly went to get the ants off, which by the way bit me. And then my girlfriend says,
"You never take care of anything I give you. I'm never giving you anything again."
And she was mad at me for a day.
Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal, criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama, I'm a criminal. Mama.